Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Cristin. I'm currently 38 weeks pregnant with my second baby, and in this video I thought I'd talk to you guys about why I'm choosing to have a tubal ligation. So what is a tubal ligation? More or less, it's getting your tubes tied. We are done making babies. That is the short answer to the story. So the reason I'm choosing to have a tubal ligation is because I'm already signed up to have a repeat C-section. If you guys want to know why I'm having a repeat C-section, I've already done a video on that, so I can link that down below in the description box if you want to check that out. But yeah, we're done making babies is kind of what my husband and I have agreed on. We've talked about it. There's a small part of me that kind of bounces back and forth. I feel like part of that might be pregnancy hormones, because before getting pregnant with baby boy number 2, I was like 100% sure that I only wanted to have 2 kids and I was done. For the most part. I mean, I feel like there's always going to be a small part of me that's like one more baby. Because it's fun. I love being a mom. I love having my son, and I'm going to love having this baby, and I'm sure that when they get older, I'm going to be like, oh man, I'd like to have another baby. But in the whole scheme of things, I think we just need to call it quits and be done. And that's what this video is about, and that's what I'm going to tell you about. I turn 29 tomorrow, actually. I've always been told, or at least I've heard from a lot of people, that it's good to space your kids out about 3 years apart. This baby and my older child will be just about 3 years apart, just shy of that. This baby will be born in May, and my oldest was born July 2016. So they're going to be just shy of 3 years apart. To further that, I'll be 29. If I waited 3 more years to have another kid, that would put me at like 32, which isn't horrible. But with this pregnancy, I've started having some health issues, and every time that I start to think maybe I don't want to have a tubal, I have another health issue pop up. The first, it was swelling, and then I got high blood pressure. And I know that swelling is normal in pregnancy. I didn't have any really swelling much in my first pregnancy, and because I had swelling and high blood pressure with this pregnancy, my doctor was afraid that I was developing preeclampsia. Thankfully, I was not, but it was a concern. And then here recently, I've developed pregnancy-related carpal tunnel, which I know that the swelling and the carpal tunnel are both very common, normal pregnancy symptoms that happen to a lot of people, so maybe I shouldn't put too much stock in that. But I just feel like any time that I start to really think about maybe not getting my tubes tied, I feel like something else pops up. And I just feel like it's like red flags, like warning flags, like stop while you're ahead. Like you're 29 having your second kid, which in the whole scheme of things, like I said, isn't that bad. I could be in my early 30s having a third if we wanted to. But, I had like no health issues at all with my first pregnancy at 25, had him at 26. And then this pregnancy has been 28 to 29, and mostly all 28. And I've had a few things pop up. So I'm like, am I going to push my luck if I try to have a kid in my 30s? Could be absolutely nothing happens. Could be something. On top of all of that, we also have to take into consideration our house isn't getting any bigger. Finances, kids are expensive. Excuse me while I lounge back. 38 weeks pregnant, just trying to be comfortable. I just realized in the viewfinder I'm very slouchy right now. But currently, both kids will have their own bedrooms, which I think is important. I don't think it's like an end-all be-all, but I know growing up as an only child, I really valued my own bedroom and my own space. And then my husband grew up the youngest of 4, and he had to share a room with his brother for a while. And until I asked him about it, he's like, well, it wasn't fun. So I know from my standpoint of always having my own room, I really valued that. And then I know from my husband's standpoint of like having to have shared a room, like he didn't love it, and he was very thankful to finally get his own bedroom. So I kind of feel like, that's something I want to be able to give my children. I want to be able to give them their own space and give them their own bedrooms. And currently we can do that. If we had a third kid, the boys would have to bunk up with each other in one form or another, whether we had a third boy or if we had a girl. So you know, somebody would be sharing bedroom space. So, you know, we've got housing and finances. Currently, we're at a place where we can more than afford to have a second child. You know, it's going to be a little tight with the hospital bills, but otherwise, like, we're good to go. We can do this. Add on a third kid, and it's just, you know, our oldest is just starting preschool, or is just barely scratching their surface to see what, like, school fees are going to be. And of course, at some point, we're going to have 2 in school. And so there's more than just right now making baby phase. You know, there's a lot to think about and a lot to take into consideration when you're deciding to have a permanent surgery done, which a tubal ligation is permanent. I never realized this before. It's pretty much permanent. I asked my doctor about reversal procedures, and she said that you can do it, but it's not necessarily a high success rate, and you'd almost be better spending your money having fertility treatment done than you would to try to reverse a tubal ligation. So, you know, we've explored all of our options. On top, like I said, it's like a building thing. On top of everything I've just mentioned, I really don't want to go back on hormonal birth control. I was on it for nearly 10 years. The last go around on it, I started having like actual issues with it. I was on it for like a month or 2, and I had like 3 menstrual cycles in 1 month, and I was like, whoa, not going to do this to prevent a pregnancy that we want eventually anyways. So it's just been a building block. We don't want to use condoms anymore. You know, if I wasn't already signed up to have a repeat C-section, which is when they're going to perform my tubal ligation, my husband would probably look into a vasectomy, but at this point it just kind of makes sense. Like, it adds an extra 2 minutes to my surgery. I'm already going to be there anyways. Might as well get it done. On top of that, getting a tubal ligation during your C-section, and this is explained by my doctor, they're able to take out more of your fallopian tube than if you had it done any other way. So she said that, you know, the chances of having an ectopic pregnancy or pregnancy at all after tubal ligation, which normally is like a 1% chance that it would happen, but, you know, it could happen. She's like, you know, that even decreases even more because we're taking out the biggest part of your fallopian tube than we would be able to take out if you weren't already having a C-section. So it just kind of all adds up and makes sense that I would go ahead and be the one to get my tubes tied. That saying, if for whatever reason I got pregnant with a third, my husband would definitely be getting a vasectomy. Not against having him do that. But yeah, we've got, like I said, there's just like a lot of things to take into consideration and think about. And we've had lots of time to think about it and talk about it. We've actually been talking about it well before we ever got pregnant. Now that I am pregnant, like I said, I'm a little wishy-washy on it, but my husband's steadfast and like, no, we're good with 2. And I keep telling myself to listen to him because I know that's how I felt prior to pregnancy. So I think a lot of my wishy-washiness right now just has to do with the hormones. Like, I'm about to have a second baby and I'm like baby fever. So I'm sure that, you know, within a year or so, I'll be more than happy that we made this decision and stuck with it. So to further everything I've already talked about for why we're choosing to have a tubal ligation and to call it quits on making babies is because, you know, we are looking forward to our future someday. And we want to be empty nesters. We want to raise our kids and kick them out of the house. And we want to be able to enjoy our golden years together and be young enough to like enjoy our grandchildren and be young enough to go on vacations and not have to worry about having a teenager, you know, at home or, you know, a kid or something. Whereas, you know, if your children are adults, even if they're still living with you, but if they're like 19, 20 years old and living with you, like, it's kind of a different situation to just pack up and like go on vacation without them versus like having a 16-year-old at home. You can't just leave them at home, you know? So we want to be able to enjoy being empty nesters. We don't want to be in our 60s and 70s with our last kid leaving the nest. As is, my husband will be about 55 and I will be about 47 when our youngest child hits 18 years old. So that's more than young enough to be able to go out and enjoy the rest of our lives and not always be stuck in mommy and daddy mode. On top of all of that, even more, you have to take in consideration my husband's age and his abilities, if that makes any sense. I mean, being in your 30s and 40s is still fairly young. However, you know, as you get older, it gets harder to do things and keep up with your children. And at some point, it becomes unfair to your child to make them have a parent that's like in their 60s and 70s and just can't keep up with them and just can't, you know, do the things that kids want to do, like playing baseball, playing soccer. And, you know, you hear about people who are like in their 60s and 70s having kids, like dads and stuff. And, you know, you have to take into consideration, like, yeah, maybe you really want to have a kid, but like how long are you going to be around for this child, and what all can you do with them? You know, that's something you have to take into consideration and think about. And how do you feel about that? How do you think your kid's going to feel about that? And so, you know, if we waited another 3 years, my husband is currently 37, so he'd be 39 by the time we had a third one, which again isn't that bad, but it just pushes everything back. And we want to make sure that we can give our children the best of everything we possibly can, and that includes the best of us. And so I'd like to think that at 39, my husband would be more than healthy to be able to run and chase children and toddlers, and, you know, well into his early 40s. But, you know, there has to come a point in your time when you say we're done making babies and we're happy with the children that we have, and it's time to put focus on them and raising them up right and experiencing their childhood. Babyhood only lasts for so long, and then it's on to childhood. And, you know, it's okay to close a chapter, and I feel like that's where we're at. We're okay with closing the chapter on making babies, on babyhood. We're gonna have our last baby. We're gonna enjoy him and treasure all of his babyhood and toddlerhood, and, you know, going into his childhood along with our older child. You know, we've just been enjoying every little bit of him being little, and, you know, we've thoroughly enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to doing it again, but we're also looking forward to closing a chapter on that part of our lives. So that is why we have chosen to have a tubal ligation, because we're done making babies. If for whatever reason we ever decide we want to have more kids, you know, there's always the option for adoption or for foster care. It's something my husband and I have both talked about and we're open to. But at the end of the day, honestly, I think that we're both ready to be done with babies. Like, even if we ever adopted or went to foster, I think we would want an older child. I don't think that we would want to do the baby phase again, because, to be completely honest, and this is just based off of my firstborn, neither of us particularly loved the newborn phase. I know people who adore newborns, and newborns are great. They're cute, and we enjoyed our son being a newborn, and we soaked it up, and we're going to do it again. But if I had to pick my favorite phase, I'm enjoying toddlerhood a lot more than I enjoyed infancy, like newborn baby stuff. Like, that's just too many night feedings for my liking. I like it when they start sleeping through the night. So we're going to do it one more time. We're going to enjoy it one more time, and we're going to close the chapter on it, and we're going to move on. So yeah, that is everything for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully it answers any questions for why we're choosing to have a tubal ligation. I have had some people ask questions about, like, you know, why would you choose to do that? Especially when you are so young. I mean, 30s is still young, but when you hit your 30s, I think it's 35, they start to consider you a geriatric pregnancy, 34, 35, which means old. You know, we're just getting up there in years, and it's time to call it quits. That just kind of wraps everything up. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Maybe you found it informative or gave you something to think about. Again, this is in no way trying to dissuade anybody from having children in their 30s. Everybody has to take a different life path, and this is just what works best for my husband and I. Like, I'm by no means coming on here and saying people shouldn't have children in their 30s. I'm not saying that, you know, if you couldn't have them in your 20s, you know, game over. By no means am I saying that. You know, I mean, I know plenty of people who have children in their 30s. They're healthy, they're fine, they had fine pregnancies, and nothing went wrong. I'm just saying, for myself personally, for our family, this is the decision that we've made, and we're happy with it. We're satisfied, and we're ready to just close the chapter on the baby phase. So just want to put that little disclaimer out there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe give you something to think about. Maybe find it informative or a little bit entertaining, and I guess we'll wrap things up. So hope to catch you in my next one. Bye.